Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Whew, got a big Michigan update coming your way. Make sure you stay tuned in for that. Nevada is bringing the heat today. He's got the latest on what's going on with the hammer. So with that being said, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave say like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we've got some really hot bets. The tournament is going on right now, so we appreciate you guys that are tuning in live. But March Madness is rolling along, and it's a really good time to be a part of Buckeye Scoop. So got some hot bets going on. So with that being said, we're going to bring in Nevadabuck. Nevada, as you talk about in Michigan, there's some late breaking news that you've got that is somewhat disturbing for the Michigan faithful. But what are your thoughts on what is going on with Michigan's potential settlement with the NCAA?
Well, think of this way. Think of it kind of like in the context of like the Ukraine Russia type of thing, where there's conversations going on back and forth, where proposals are being sent and different terms are being discussed and things are being agreed to, not agreed to. Um, but nothing's done until it's done. But it's pretty significant development that Michigan, for the first time up until now, Michigan has been offering. They've offered Sharon Moore's head on a platter, permanent banishment for Harbaugh, fines, restrictions, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they've been able to throw everybody under the bus. But the two kind of sacred cows for them have been vacating wins, and specifically the championship in 2023, and then go forward punishments, postseason bans. Well, they've now offered up a 2025 season postseason ban as part of his settlement with NCAA. So this is significant because it's the first time that they've been willing to go on one of those two things. Now, to me, it indicates that they know, one, that they're not really a national championship contender in 2025. So, you can take that for what it's worth. But it also signifies that they're seeing kind of an erosion in their position, from this, hey, this was a nothing burger, to this was a lone wolf, to this is overreached by the NCAA, to now they're recognizing just how severe this thing is, and they're starting to realize that they have to offer up something that's of significance and real to the NCAA. Otherwise, they're never going to get themselves out of the gigantic hole that they've kind of built themselves up in. So I thought this. I've had no indication from my contact with the NCAA that this would be near enough to settle this thing, but it definitely shows a weakening and a softening in Michigan's position on this, and a realization that they're really on untenable ground, because they keep talking about things like, well, nobody's had to forfeit or vacate wins without an ineligible player. Well, nobody's ever been charged with this before. That's why there's just no precedent for this, and that's what the NCAA keeps coming back with. It wasn't that the only games that you could be forced to vacate or forfeit or ineligible player ones. It's just the only ones that we've done before, because there's never been a cheating scandal on this scale. So I think Michigan's argument, it really kind of rings hollow with the NCAA, just because of the unprecedented nature of what they're doing. So I think that's starting to dawn on. Michigan, as we mentioned, has now got 3 different groups working on this thing. I think they realize now that there is really no way out for them. The only way out is via punishment. It's just a question of how bad the punishment's going to be. But offering up the 2025 season as a sacrificial lamb as a way to make this go away, I think it's going to be the first in the many pillars that's going to fall for Michigan, as this hammer kind of falls down around them, and as the NCAA kind of exerts their influence on the Michigan football program for the largest cheating scandal in college football history.
That as you look at the team that they're bringing back and the lack of overall talent, the lack of recruiting prowess, the lack of Bryce Underwood's likely to be their starting quarterback as a true freshman who was given 10 million in NLI, NIL for the next 3 to 4 years. Do you think that plays into the fact that they want to kind of take this year off? Because again, I lived through the 2011 season when I was part of a staff that was 6-7, and that was the year that we should have taken off. But instead, we played versus Florida and lost, and got our 7th loss. But in 2012 that cost us because all of a sudden we were not bowl eligible in 2012, and we had to sit out the year because we were ineligible. But do you think it's better for Michigan to take it on the cheek this year with a team that's not very good versus waiting another year when they could potentially replenish?
Well, I think that's definitely their thinking. And definitely their thinking is, look, on the parade of horribles, obviously the thing that they want to protect above all else is that 2023 national championship. That's like kind of the top of the mountain for them. But everything below that is the 2025 seasons in play, the 2026 seasons in play, the 2027 seasons in play. Obviously, Bryce Underwood's tenure at Michigan's in play. I mean, there's a lot of things that are in play for Michigan that they'd be willing to sacrifice or give up, other than that national championship. And I think, that's the thing that they want to. Now, the NCAA is bound and determined to take away the national championship. They're bound and determined to take away the 2021 season, the 2022 season, and the first 7 games of 2023. So, Michigan's really got bad cards to play right now, and I think that they're realizing that. And to your point, I think they realize they don't really have much for 2025. So if they were going to give up anything, the path of least resistance for them, where they can say, okay, we're giving it to you, we're going to throw something on the vet, is 2025, because they're not going to be anything in 2020. I don't care about Bryce Underwood and him telling LeBron, oh, it's over for Ohio State because I'm here now. I'm telling you right now, I'm not even sure how good Bryce Underwood is. And you guys can play that clip back, and we'll go over that, and we'll review that. It kind of goes forward. But I'm you know I'm a lot of hype, a lot of conversation, a lot of chatter, but like typical Michigan men, just a lot of bluster and a lot of douchebaggery. But we'll see how good he is. And is he good enough? I don't care if he's Superman. He's not good enough to bring down Ohio State by himself. I mean, there's a vast gap. No matter what happened on the field this year at the end of November, there's a vast gap between Ohio State and Michigan from a talent perspective. And when properly deployed, Ohio State is head and shoulders clearly above anybody in the Big Ten, and
Mhm.
frankly above anybody in the nation. And they showed that in that run to the national championship this year. So I think Michigan's got a long way to go. In the words of Smokey and the Bandit, they got a long way to go in a short time to get there. But I think 2025, they're willing to wash, because they realize they're not going to be anything in 2020. They're not going to
Yeah.
be on the national scale in 2025. So for them, I
Yeah.
think that was the easiest thing for them to give up.
I think the problem is, like, when you've got a team that isn't up to snuff. I mean, again, like, this is I lived it. I lived it in 2010 when we had Terrell and Cam Hayward and like a mega team, versus 2011 where we lost Cam, we lost Terrell. Like, I mean, just because you have a logo on your shirt or your jersey doesn't mean that you're ready up to be, a top tier type team. Now, again, obviously in 2011 we were close. We lost a lot of very close games, but we ended up 6-7. So is what it is. Your record is what it says it was. But I think that, like, if you can punt it when you're not that close to winning the big ring, you should do it if you can, if it's possible. Just get rid of the stigma. Again, like, I hate going in on Gene Smith. I do it a lot. But when Gene Smith decided for us to play the 2011 bowl game versus Florida, in the Gator Bowl, I thought that was the Tax Slayer Bowl. It was a gross. It was the case of gross negligence, because we had a staff that was fired, a group of players that did not have any interest in playing, and we still play it, which again I thought was silly. And then in 12, we had a really good team that could have potentially won a national title. They were banned from the whole thing. So, um, if I am the athletic director at Michigan, which I would never be, but if I was, I would do everything I could to get everything behind us as fast as we could. Excuse me. But I think that when you look at the level of insanity that has gone on at that program, and with trying to rebuild obviously they won a national title 2 years ago, but like you have to look at that rebuild. I mean, that rebuild's gonna be serious. There's gonna be a lot of bad blood. Um, so I'd say if I was the AD, I'd say, look, we're taking on the chin for 1 year. Um, decline the bowl game, decline the overages, decline the negative comments, and then say, okay, we screwed up, but after that, we're gonna roll. And so you have Bryce Underwood as a sophomore, the rest of the squad rolling after that. Um, I think that's the most efficient way to do it. Nevada, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you got to remember that part of this thing is going to be what are the penalties going to be for Sharon Moore? Because Sharon Moore is, your head coach is a guy who's under NCAA, he's under probation, right? Um, he's on probation, and he's now guilty of destroying evidence in the next NCAA investigation that's going on at Michigan. So he's going to get another punishment. And is he going to get half the year? Is he going to get the full year? I mean, you don't know what the punishment's going to be for Sharon Moore. So I think, for Michigan, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, hey, look, we'll offer up the season as a postseason ban. Then we'll offer up a year of Sharon Moore being suspended as well on top of that, which again, you're trying to put all your eggs in the let's take our punishment in the 2025 basket. And to your point, get it all behind us, get things there, get Bryce Underwood up and running, and then try to right the ship in the year's future on that. But I really believe that's going to be their plan. Their plan is going to be to try to ladle as much as they can on this. But it's not just about Michigan, because like I said, Sharon Moore, there's no way that he's going to escape the NCAA for what he did in terms of deleting the evidence in an active investigation. I mean, he knows better than that. I mean, he knows better than that. And if he doesn't know better than that, then he should have known better than that. And Jim Tressel got fired for a heck of a lot less. So, I think that's going to be the plan. I could see Sharon Moore being suspended for the entire year of 2025, and Michigan just kind of taking it as kind of a lost leader in terms of doing it. Now, do I think that's sufficient? I don't think it's anywhere near sufficient enough relative to the crime, and I think the punishment's got to fit the crime. And I have no indication that the NCAA feels any differently about this. But the one thing that you can rest assured on, and I'm telling you, for all the Michigan fans that are listening, Michigan's position on this is deteriorating in real time. It is their positions. They've been so strident that, oh hell no, we're not there, and now it's like, no, we'll take this. So you can see it happening. You can see the kind of the wall kind of crumbling as this thing kind of goes down. And I've always been asked what do I think would be an appropriate penalty, not overly onerous, not overly generous. I think it's take away 21, 22, and 23, and 2 years postseason ban. I think that's fair. I think some people might think that's getting off light for Michigan, that it should be longer. But I think that's an appropriate penalty. Wipes out the games that they cheated in, punishes them going forward for the institutional lack, the lack of institutional control, the destruction of evidence, the other things that they got in, all the other monkey business that they got involved in. And I know that's what the NCAA has been asking for. I know that's what they're going to be asking the Committee on Infractions to the penalty to put on them. And I really think that's where this thing's going to end up. But first step, Michigan caving on this pretty significant day today.
They have to. They have no chance. I mean, it's like you're facing life, and it's like when people try to be hard and tough and say, "Well, I'll never cop to a plea deal, or I'll never cop to the feds." I'm like, "Well, you're dead." So, I mean, Michigan's saying, "Well, we'll do a 1 year bowl ban and the extra," and I'm just like, "Well, when you're facing something significant, and bowl ban is also going to be scholarship loss, because guys aren't going to be excited to play when you also get banned for a bowl game." But I think that if they could get a 1 year bowl ban and that's it, that's the greatest punishment of all time. But I just don't think that's going to happen. I think that the deeper it goes, the harder it gets. The vacation of losses and the vacation of the championship, easily on the table. I mean, you can't do what they did. Again, I was excuse me. I was on the team in 2010. We won the Sugar Bowl, beat Arkansas, And that you know that trophy's gone forever, never be displayed again. And the Sugar Bowl is a really nice, beautiful trophy, but gone forever. Will not ever be displayed in the Woody Hayes again. So, why would it not be something consistent with that for Michigan with their national championship? Obviously, everything they did prior to winning the national championship, all of the goodwill that they garnered, I think it's all going to go away. So I'm excited it's going to be about that. Nevada, any thoughts on that? We get some super chats.
Well, I think the thing you have to remember is that the NCAA is really fighting for its very existence on this, and this is they're kind of pushing all their chips in on this one final hand. They realize that their functionality in terms of college sports is being questioned. The legality, a lot of things that they've been doing, primarily concerning player eligibility and NIL and player disbursements and things like that. Not these types of things, and that's where Michigan's like, oh, the NCAA's got no teeth. The courts are beating them down. Not on this stuff, because this is about. It's like you're a member of a club, and the club has rules, and you sign up and say, I will abide by the club rules. And then they tell you, okay, you can't wear jean shorts on the course. You're like, I'll sue you. You're not going to win because you signed up for this. That's what Michigan's in. You signed up for this. These are the rules. You broke the rules. There's no court relief on this unless the NCAA doesn't follow their own rules and regulations and policies and procedures. That's why the NCAA has been so careful, so steadfast about not leaking their documents, about make sure they're meeting all their deadlines, make sure they're following kind of due process for Michigan. But make no mistake, everyone in the NCAA realizes this case is the one that they're going to be judged by to see whether or not that they still function as an enforcement organization. And if they don't, they might as well just pack the whole thing up, pack it up like one of those departments in Washington, and send everybody out the door with your cardboard boxes and kind of going down the road. But they don't intend to do that. They believe that and they are in the right. I mean, this was so egregious, so bad, and directly impacted outcomes of games on the field, players' futures, players' legacies, players' awards, coaches' job. I mean, it affected so much, and it was a shameless cheating exercise by Michigan that was authorized at the highest levels, that was funded by the university, and that was known up and down. Everybody in the organization either knew about it, should have known about it, would have known about it, could have known about it, but they did know about it. And the NCAA was aware of that, and that's why they haven't indicated any willingness to budge on this one, and that's why the hammer's coming, and that's why Michigan's position is deteriorating so fast.
Totally agree. Jared Hattle, the king of Chillicothe, thanks for the 10. He says, my question was answered on the board. So let's take my monies. Keep up the good work. Nevada, and idea what Hattle had to say.
Well, I'm glad that it was answered on the board. If you like our podcast, you should join our website. Our website, BuckeyeScoop.com. We discuss all the stuff first there. We discuss it all in depth, 24 hours a day. So if you, like I said, you're not doing the full podcast experience unless you remember the board, because then you get 24 hours a day of immersion in all things Buckeye. And so we appreciate you being a member. Thank you. I think you're on mute, Mr. Barton, otherwise speaking very softly.
Nick Ma, 71, thanks for the 5. Says, sweep the leg. Mercies for the weak and waters for cowards. Nevada, do you agree with any of that? Sweeping the leg, mercies for the weak and waters for cowards. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, my favorite guy was the guy that was like that little snarling face guy. It's like, put him in a body bag. I think that guy just died recently too. But yeah, no mercy. Sweep the leg, and I just don't see any mercy incoming for Michigan, because they've never shown any contrition. They've never showed, they've been arrogant throughout this whole thing. They've kind of thumbed their nose. They've thumbed their nose at the other members of the league. They threatened Tony Petitti. They've threatened, Yoko Ono was out there putting out bets and all that stuff like that. And just arrogance for Michigan all the way up, and from their fan base to their administration to their coaching staff. I mean, to think that you can destroy evidence in the middle of an NCAA investigation. I mean, like how would he think that's okay? How would Sharon Moore, a guy making $1 million a year at the time and now making much more than that, how would he possibly think, hey, we're under NCAA investigation for Connor Stallions, I'm going to delete my text message thread with Connor Stallions now? That's a good plan. So no, yeah, no mercy for those guys, and I don't think they're getting any.
I think it'll be substantial. Again, like with what they did, and the thing that'll be attractive is when you see all of the electronic stuff that's been coming out to date. When you see, the ticket transactions, the money exchanged, because again, Connor doing this isn't just like he's, again, if you're stupid, you can believe what he says. It's like you can't just watch TV and pick signals and, oh, I got off the TV copy. It's like, no, there was a lot of money being exchanged. There's a lot of tickets being exchanged and a lot of film being uploaded to iCloud. So I think it's going to be very substantial. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic as it plays out. Because, again, I've seen this movie before. I've seen, when somebody is in a certain realm and they're just like, well, I'm trying to grow. And again, the hardest part for me is I don't directly hate Connor Science. I don't directly hate, him being whatever he is, because he's trying to climb in the profession. And in the profession, if you do the right things and if you become the apple of the eye of the head coach, then you might get the stick. You might get a real job. So Connor was there for 2 years and he is making $60,000 a year, which is, I mean, in coaching, that's like amazing money. And he was growing and doing a lot of good stuff, and the coordinators loved him. And so if he if he continues that trajectory, he's probably getting offered by Mike McDonald and Jim Harbaugh to go to LA, and Mike McDonald to go to Seattle. So and he detailed like what he did for Frank Clark. Frank Clark played in the Super Bowl versus the 49ers, and he had an entire kind of blueprint written up for him versus Joe Staley and the other tackles, and Frank Clark played amazing. So I think that it's interesting when you look at what he did when he did it, and what he's able to accomplish, and what Michigan was able to do. 'Cause again, like if you look at there's a really fun meme on Twitter where you look at the last 3 years at Michigan versus the previous 7-8 years versus the past year, and how there's this like precipitous drop off or glow up between the periods of darkness. So again, I think that what they did was egregious. It was horrible. And I think it's pretty clear that when they had the same players and magically came away better, didn't work out great. So we got another super chat. Troy Yenzer, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. Let me get that on here. He says vacated wins, lose natty, scholarships, 3-year postseason ban, and oppose an NIL cap. Nevada OH. I like vacated wins. I like to lose the natty, obviously. Scholarships, 3-year postseason ban. I don't know how you do an NIL cap. Nevada, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that stuff, I think it sounds good. I just don't know about the vacated win stuff is obviously clearly on the table. The postseason ban is clearly on the table. The show cause for Sharon Moore and other staff members definitely on the table. Fines, scholarship restrictions. I just don't know if you can do it now. I mean, you could. You could hold back television money. That's something that is part of the Big Ten charter. That's something that Tony Petitti could do if you want to do it. I don't know if he has a mind to do that. I think it's really going to depend on how the punishments fall down for them. I just don't know. That I don't believe that's ever been done before. But that certainly is an arrow in the quiver for Tony, and something that they could do that could serve as kind of a de facto NIL restriction. But I don't know. I don't know if that's legal or not. Would be my only question on that. So I'm not sure how implementable that is.
Yeah, that's where I'm always at when people say we can, ban scholarships or limit scholarships or limit. And it's like when people say we can have a NIL salary cap. I'm like, well, how? I mean, because like if you look at the National Football League, where Odell Beckham made a lot of money and quarterbacks make a lot of money, like Odell was one of the highest paid guys in the NFL based on endorsements. So if you have like legitimate or not legitimate endorsements of players that want to get paid off of what they've done or what they could have done, how does that factor into a salary cap? So like Odell Beckham, who made a lot of money, played for the New York Giants, 15 million bucks a year or whatever. He was making 25, 30 million because of his endorsements, like Pert Plus and everything else. So it'd be interesting to see if people try to impose a cap on NIL or anything else, because it's not always like a binary transaction where it's like, okay, this guy made a bunch of money, he did all this, and he gets all this money. Um, so that's always fascinating. That's my biggest issue when people say we should cap NIL and everybody should have salary cap, and I just don't know how that works. I mean, again, because I think that it's so phony, and there's so much ancillary money that could come in, has nothing to do with the team, has everything to do with the booster. I mean, how do you stop it? So Nevada, again, we talked about the vacated wins, the lost national championship, 3-year postseason ban. What would your ideal punishment for Michigan be?
Well, like taking I want to hurt them where it hurts them the most, and so for me, I would even sacrifice 21 and 20. I want the national championship going in 23, and I want at least 2 years going forward um, of a postseason ban. To me, that's something that messes with the recruiting. It messes with Bryce Underwood and his grand plan. It takes away the trophy, which I mean, taking away the trophy from Michigan, because that may be the last trophy that they win in your lifetime or my lifetime. So that would be a very significant penalty. But I think it's appropriate. I mean, they were cheap. They were on probation and decided to send Connor Stallions to the sideline of the Central Michigan game in disguise. And that was during the 23 season. So how can there not be a 23 season penalty? It just doesn't, it just doesn't make any sense. So I think that it's the unprecedented nature. I don't know if anybody's ever been stripped of a national championship before. I mean, it might have happened. I'm not sure if it has or not, but look, there've been plenty of teams that have been given postseason bans. I remember I read off the list of of those to you one time, and it's a bunch. It's happened many, 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 many times. So it's not like, oh, this is such an unprecedented penalty. It just, when you look at what Michigan did, um, I don't know how you can come up with any other conclusion. So for me, everything else is kind of the sprinkles and the nuts and everything else like that. But the Sunday to me is take away that natty, give them a couple of years on top of that to think about it. I think if you do that, I'll be satisfied. I think it's absolutely perfect justice. No, but those are the two things that I know will hurt Michigan fans the most, will hurt Michigan the most, and will really destroy Harbaugh's legacy, because his legacy
Yeah.
you know what happened with Harbaugh. He was getting his butt kicked by Ohio State. He was getting killed, and he decided he went during COVID. He gave the instructions to his recruiting manager. I don't care. Break the rules. Do whatever you got to get guys on campus here. We're going to do anything we can to win. I don't care. And then this scheme came along, and he's like, "Hey, I don't believe he orchestrated it, but I 100% believe that he knew about it, that he supported it indirectly and directly financially, and they just said, hey, do whatever you got to do, because as we've talked about a million times, there is no way on God's green earth this little Geppetto from the analyst's office is sitting right by your defensive coordinator in the middle of games, and your head coach doesn't notice and go, what the hell is that guy doing here? That just doesn't happen. And so for all the Michigan fans that want to say this didn't matter, this wasn't important, this didn't have any outcome of the game, then why was this guy sitting on Jesse Minter's shoulder talking to him during the games? If you can answer that question to some reasonable thing that we can, then we can put aside these discussions. But until then, I have never seen that before. I've never seen it since. And neither of you, you've watched a million games, you've been on the sidelines, you've coached, you've played, you're an analyst, you watch. It just doesn't happen. So, you know, it clearly was important. It clearly was the centerpiece of what Michigan was doing, and it was effective because let's face it, guys, they were really bad before then. They were really good during that period of time, and then they got really bad after that. So I'm not really sure how you can draw any other conclusions other than it really did make a huge difference for them. They treated it that way, and the penalty should reflect that.
Well, yeah, like when you look at what they did and how they did it, how brazen it was, and how stupid it was, like of course it should have reflected. Because I think that when you look at um, the lack of evidence that you can get rid of, they have the physical evidence, the electronic evidence of tracing tickets, tracing film, tracing. You know, again, we only know what we've seen, but like, I mean, they have to be uploading that film from every team into some sort of a cloud that can get downloaded and put into their film software to rip. And again, Jim Harbaugh gave Connor Science a game ball. That does not mean Nevada being, you know, pie in the sky guys. Like he literally gave him a game ball and said, hey, you're an intern, but you know what, we're gonna give you a game ball. And that's a big deal. Like when you're in that position and you get a game ball, like you're doing something ultra substantial, and he did because he was helping them cheat and be good. And you look at the 3 years he was there versus the other years that he wasn't there, it was pretty despicable. Gabe Ganzek for the 5. He says, can't wait for the team up north to finally get what they deserve. Also, can JJ Smith and Carnell play basketball by chance? Nevada, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're definitely going to get what they deserve, and it's all coming timing. People ask me the timing many times. The response obviously was due by March 6th. I think it was a little bit before that, but the final hearing needs to be within 90 days of that. Can be sooner, and then the final judgment is like 30 days after that. So you're talking about 120 days roughly. You know, I mean, don't hold me to it. Could be 110, could be 130, but roughly, 4 months from now, this whole thing should be wrapped up, in a nice little bow, and we'll know exactly where the NCAA is going to fall down on this. And obviously Michigan realizes how severe it's going to be. Yeah, as for those guys playing basketball, yeah, we need,
We need them
the
all.
basketball team. Yeah, the basketball thing is really kind of sad because we've just kind of fallen on hard times, and we should be better. And I don't want to blame the coach. I don't want to blame whatever, but I'll just say we need to be better, and we got to figure out whatever we got to do to be better because we should be better.
Well, that's the best. Is like when I played there, and again, I love Greg Oden. I love Mike Conley. I love Daquan Cook. I mean, Greg Oden's great human being, terrible luck, whatever. But that being said, I was like, you guys should have won it all in 06. And so like we lost to Florida, and then they lost to Florida, so it was like a double dose of trash. But like now it's just like, do we like when we hire a coach, is it really the best coach in America, or is it a guy that's convenient like Jake Diebler? Again, I'm not going to pile on Jake. I don't know him at all. I don't care about him at all. But, did we really put it out and have Dusty May and Sanderson and some of these guys that went to Michigan pull up? We didn't. So we're paying the cost for that. It's sad, but it is what it is. Nevada, imagine Wagons, JVB, thanks for the 5. He says, why do you guys let the stream run for an hour after you're done? Also, hear what Bryce Underwood told LeBron. I did not. We read the stream afterwards because a lot of people are still chatting. So I've learned my lesson when I cut the stream off immediately, and then people are still talking because we have a humongous community, and they like to talk after the show. So I let them kind of get everything out of the tank, and then I let it go. And I did not hear what Bryce Underwood told LeBron. Nevada, did you?
Yeah, he said it was over for Ohio State. That literally him coming was the end of Ohio State football, and so nothing like a little bit of humility from the Michigan. Yeah, I just dude, I don't know what it is about it must be the water or something like that up there. But like are they just all douchebags? Literally, they are. I mean, you saw the Michigan State thing where Michigan State has the tradition where they go and the
Mm-hmm.
players, the seniors get taken off and they kiss center court and they go off, and the Michigan guys go there and stand right there on the center on the Michigan State logo to try to stop the guy from. I mean, it's like, and then Dusty May tries to get. I lost a lot of respect for Dusty May when he gets out there and he's like, I didn't know. I didn't know. Where are we supposed to
Oh,
stand? I didn't
I had no
know.
idea. We just set
I coached
off
at
the side of the
Indiana. We're just
thing. Yep.
yeah. Well, what the heck's the
Mm-hmm.
difference? I mean, what a moron. I mean, I know he tries to defend his players and this and that, but you're just a moron. And it's just all these things. The tunnel hassles, the logo hassles, the flag plant. It's always Michigan. It's never anybody else. It's always Michigan. It's Michigan and Michigan State. It's Michigan and Rutgers. It's Michigan and Purdue. It's Michigan and Ohio State. Who else has a head coach slugging another head coach other than Michigan? I mean, it's just those guys. It's just the biggest trash program in the world. They're just so morally bankrupt, and they have no ethical standards up there at all. And so they just keep doing this stuff. And so Bryce Hunter just talking his garbage. It's just par for the course, and I can't wait to shut that guy up. Just like this year when we got the hey, they can talk all they want about. Oh, we won, dude. I don't care. We won the national. We're the national championship. We had the greatest run in the history of college football. Enjoy your 5-loss season there, you slug. So yeah, we're the national champs.
All right, Rob Big Buddy P, thanks for the 5. He says, has any other intern in the Big Ten or SEC gotten a game ball? Whew, Nevada. I mean, you've been around the block and you've been a team owner and the OG. Have you ever given an intern a game ball, game puck, game anything? I've been a graduate assistant for Ohio State, and if Jim Tressel or Luke Fuqua to give me a game ball, or even Urban Meyer, I would have laughed at him and said, don't be a douchebag. Give it to like the real players, not to the assistant coach or whatever. But that's just me. Nevada, have you ever seen an intern get a game ball?
I haven't. I haven't, and
No.
it just, it just destroys the whole narrative that Jim Harbaugh wasn't aware of what he was doing. Jim Harbaugh wasn't aware of the importance of what he was doing. Jim Harbaugh was just blissfully unaware of this little Geppetto just running up and down the sideline, yelling at Jesse Minter and getting everybody jumping up and down, pointing to the sky. And Jim Harbaugh's like, "What are they doing? They must be doing a new TikTok dance or something like that." And he didn't know, but here's your game ball there, Stallions, for getting everybody to do the TikTok dance. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and they expect us all to play along and just be like, "Oh yeah, that's right. You can pick signs off the TV sign. You can do that."
Oh my
Ask
God.
yourself, not for you, Kirk, but for all you people listening. You guys all watch the games. How many times have you seen them show the signs other than for like 4 seconds when they're showing the head coach? And tell me, how much could you've gotten off of that? Could you try to like decipher the signs off the 4 seconds that they've given you once a game on the thing? And the answer is no. Obviously, you can't. And it's not any different with any other angles, any other tapes. No schools tape the signs. They don't do it. It's not something that's
Nope.
traded on the black market. It's not traded on the illegal, dark
Mm-hmm.
web that counter signs goes on. So it was just a story and a ridiculous story. But again, they expect us just to clap along and just go, "Oh yeah, he got it off the TV." That's what you get. If you could get off the TV, guys, show me one sign you guys can tell from
Mm-hmm.
off the TV. Can't be done.
Can't. It's
No.
it's the dumbest excuse of all time when he said, I get everything off the TV copy. I'm like, so once out of every 10 plays, when they flash the head coach on the sideline, they might show the corner for 2 seconds of some guy signaling. That's it. So you're never going to garner anything intelligent off of that. You're never going to try to pick a signal off of that. But that's what he claimed. And I was just like, there's just no way. And then he also threw out the coach's term. I'm like, well, I worked for a coach named Urban Meyer, who's a genius, and he's very practical and crude. And he would turn off every single mechanism from signing to formations to make sure that nobody that we sent the film to would have any sort of, influence on us. So again, that's smart coaches do. So when they say something like, "Oh, I got everything off the TV copy," or "I sent my mom to the Indiana versus Illinois game," like doesn't matter. And again, when they send seven straight games to Ohio State and they send these little stringers, and that can help. But in general, like when you try to claim you picked something off a TV copy, like I challenge you, starting with Nevadabuck, because we said this, like, name the stakes, pick something off of the TV copy, and tell us. And if you do, we'll pay you a hearty sum. I don't know what it is, but I just know it's impossible. So, Gary Tate, thanks for the deuce. Any questions you have, you can throw that in the chat. Nevada, again, we had a very nice Michigan episode tonight. We could have this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just this was big. This was significant. This was significant enough for my best NCAA contact to reach out to me on this. He's been nails on everything. You go back on all of our podcasts in terms of the timing, on what's been happening, on when it was going to be happening, on who it was going to be happening to. It's been pretty much on point. So I don't have any doubt that this information is rock solid, and I don't have any doubt that Michigan is starting to realize that they're really in a pickle, and I love it.
I totally agree. With that being said, thank you so much for having a huge night tonight. If you guys enjoy our content, please give us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, if you enjoy our content, we appreciate you guys as always. So make sure you hit that like button. So subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Apple, it's been very good to us. They've been expanding what they do for us. So you guys have been helping us in a huge way to subscribe to that. So thank you. With that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. About time to go and see my little kiddos. They're eating their Five Guys right now, so I'm going to see them, seek up with them, and scare them. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. That being said, you guys have a great night. Go Bucks.